Right, the first recipe I'm going to make is with cauliflower. It's cauliflower fritters from Tamil Nadu. They also call it Kempu. Very simple, straightforward recipe. The batter will be made with chickpea flour, besan and rice flour, which is very common and prevalent in South India. Lots of states of South India would use rice flour just to make the batter a lot more crispier than the north. For the cauliflower fritters or Kempu, these are the following ingredients you're going to need. 1 small cauliflower cut into florets, half a teaspoon of red chili powder, half a teaspoon of turmeric powder, half a teaspoon of coriander powder, and half a teaspoon of chaat masala, and a pinch of salt, and 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil. For the batter, 3 tablespoons of gram flour, 1 tablespoon of rice flour, half a teaspoon of turmeric powder, 1 teaspoon of cumin powder, 1 teaspoon of coriander powder, half a teaspoon of red chili powder, and salt to taste. For tomato garlic salsa or tomato garlic chutney, 3 tomatoes which have been roasted and about 10 cloves of garlic which have been roasted. Half a teaspoon of red chili powder, half a teaspoon of toasted cumin powder, half a teaspoon of chaat masala, 1 tablespoon of mustard oil, 1 tablespoon of lime juice, few coriander sprigs, and 1 chopped green chili, and salt to taste. To serve with the crisp cauliflower fritters, I will have a roasted tomato chutney. For that, we have roasted the tomatoes and roasted some garlic. Simple, straightforward, whole tomatoes, just slightly cut it on the top to give a slit so the skin doesn't burst and it peels open easily. At 180 degrees centigrade, just put them in the oven with a dash of oil, vegetable oil is fine, and a pinch of salt, and it roasts and becomes really garlicky and caramelized. And garlic is here, which is also exactly like that. So I'll just put them together so that we don't confuse later. Now, let's start with the batter first. Now, there's no huge proportion in that, but what I prefer is I take about 3 tablespoons of gram flour or besan to 1.5 tablespoons of rice flour. There's no hard and fast rule. Just in case if your batter is not that great, then you can always add either the rice flour or the chickpea flour, whichever one you prefer. Now I'll add spices wise. I'll add a little cumin powder, which have been lightly toasted and then powdered. Turmeric, about half a teaspoon, and half a teaspoon of red chili powder as well. And in this, I will also like to add some chopped curry leaves. So that comes in, and some chopped chilies, that helps, and also a little bit of chopped ginger. It just gives nice flavors. And a pinch of salt, or as I say, salt to taste. Now, in my experience, whenever you're making any pakoda or any fritter, generally the batter is great, but vegetable, if it's not marinated well, then it doesn't taste that good. So always marinate the vegetables as well. So just a pinch of salt, not too much salt. Remember that batter has got plenty of salt. Red chili, a little bit of turmeric, generous amount of chaat masala, and some toasted cumin. So these are the only spices we'll be constantly playing with. Just for them to stick, add a little bit of oil. It's only for the spices to stick to the vegetable, that's all. Nothing else. There's no other roll of oil in here. Okay, so set this aside. And now for making the batter, I love to use carbonated water. Rather than using soda bicarb powder, use carbonated water and your batter will be a lot more crispier. But I don't have that in the studio, so I'm just going to use the plain one. And also for batter, how much water to add. There's no hard and fast rule because different lots of chickpea flour or the rice flour will have different capacity to hold the water. So approximately for 3 tablespoons of chickpea flour and 1 tablespoon of rice flour, or 1.5 tablespoons of rice flour, you would need about 100 ml, but that's a very rough estimate. You might need more than that. Okay, and also remember, as the batter sits, it becomes thicker. So you may need to add a little bit more water again. Okay, I'll leave this aside. Make sure all the lumps are broken. And I'll bring the oil to a good heat. And this is normal vegetable oil. And we're going to deep fry. So if you have a deep fat fryer at home, you want the temperature of that oil to be approximately 190 degrees centigrade. Or if you've got a pot like that, just make sure you do it, you take all the precautions. Don't have children playing around there. Right, it comes back very quickly, but while the oil is getting hot, I got a quick chutney to make. And I'm going to use a cutting board. Put the tomatoes and the garlic straight in here. Just drop the temperature a bit. Don't want oil to get too hot for me. And this is really chunky chutney, so I love this. Some coriander sprigs, pinch of salt, straight on here. Red chili powder, some chaat masala, and lime juice. And also some toasted cumin seeds. Okay, and all I'm going to do is just chop it together. So skin and pips all in. I think this is ready, in my opinion. I don't think I would need any more. Fantastic. I'm going to keep this aside just to be safe. And I'll come back to this in a minute. All I have to do is just correct the seasoning, a little bit of salt and a little bit of mustard oil. Right. Here we go. I got the platters, everything ready. I can clear this. The batter looks right to me, but I'll find out. I'll put first piece of cauliflower in and check it. Yeah, the oil is absolutely right. The way I check it, I just drop a small blob of batter, and if it comes back with a great speed, then the oil is pretty hot. Right, this is good. So I'll add a few more pieces, and then we can drop one at a time. You don't need batter too thick, you don't need batter too thin. That's the whole trick in that. And remember, cauliflower is absolutely raw, it takes time. So the temperature of the oil should be medium to hot, not too hot. Otherwise, it'll burn the batter before it'll let it fry properly, and also the vegetable will not get cooked. Gosh, I got a bit too much here, and I'm alone to eat. Don't think Dan will join me to eat this. It is beautiful. It's frying really well. I'll just leave it. It'll take about a minute or two before it fries up. And look, there are hardly any bubbles left now. And I'm done with the oil. Switch it off, take it away. Again, take all the care and the precaution to handle this well. Now, it's time to serve. Let me clear up and I'll come back to serve. Okay, so now my chutney is absolutely ready. Keep this out. Now, the flavors are just amazing. Just to get a little extra punch, garlic and mustard oil works really well. So just a dash of mustard oil. And it's a pure mustard oil, so I want to use it with care. A little bit more lime to make it tangier. Okay, I'm done with these ingredients as well, so I'll just clear them so that we can be good. Look good in the shot. The food has to look good before you eat. Chaat masala, a magical powder. Buy it proprietary, never try to make it yourself. Just sprinkle it lightly. Perhaps this is not the South Indian thing, and I made it. Bring it back, put the pakodas. They're amazing. They've been fried really well, and you really don't need to fry more than that. And chutney, as it should be, nice, thick, chunky. It's more like a salsa, so to speak. You just pour that there. Give it more, let's not be miser. That's it. So that's my cauliflower kempu with roasted tomato chutney. And this is how I made it. The cauliflowers were cut in small florets and I added pinch of salt, pinch of red chili powder, pinch of turmeric and pinch of chaat masala and also a pinch of toasted cumin powder. Just mix it together with a little bit of oil and I left it aside. For batter, I took 3 tablespoons of chickpea flour, 1.5 tablespoons of rice flour, salt to taste, 1 teaspoon of chaat masala, half a teaspoon of turmeric powder, 1 teaspoon of red chili powder and about 1 teaspoon of toasted cumin powder. And I mix it with plain water, mix it all together and leave it aside. For my roasted tomato and garlic chutney, I had roasted the tomatoes and garlics in the oven at 180 degrees centigrade till they were nicely caramelized. After that, I put them on the cutting board with lots of sprigs of fresh coriander, dash of lime juice, and the spices I added were half a teaspoon of red chili powder, a teaspoon of chaat masala, a teaspoon of toasted cumin powder, and then chop it all together. And towards finishing, I added a little bit of mustard oil, another dash of lime just to correct the seasoning. And that's it, that was done. And then I went back to deep fry my cauliflower fritters. For that, I had hot oil at 190 degrees centigrade. I dipped the cauliflower florets into the batter and deep fried it. So that's it, and here it is in front of you, ready to be eaten and to be enjoyed.